is real race talk from Texas. It's the Revved Up Sports Show. Here's Bobby Chaffee and Rodney Rodriguez.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a Monday night edition of the world-famous Revved Up Sports Show, live on Facebook and YouTube and other platforms all around the world. Showtime, Bobby Chaffee right here. The Iceman, Rodney Rodriguez, that's that man right back over there. Separated again in distance, but not so much by heart. I will eventually be back in studio in Round Rock at some point. When that day comes, we will figure it out together.
Well, that's a good thing. We find ways to do this, and that's the beautiful thing about the pandemic. You know, somebody was talking to me. We were talking about broadcasting and all this stuff during the pandemic, and I'm like, we figured out how to do stuff this way, and it's totally good. And the good thing is, Bobby, everybody else has figured it out as well. So
it's true. Yeah.
So we're still hammering down. Gonna be a good show. I mean, we are talking to the man. We're talking to Andrew Thornton coming up here in about 15 minutes. This is a dude that he's actually been a race announcer. He's done a bunch of shit like we do, but he's chasing all of these tracks. And I was talking to him, Bobby, and it's like, I think the whole conversation with that is, it's fascinating. At the same time, it sucks, man. It's
very sad. It is.
Yeah.
It's just a sad deal when you're sitting there and you talk about all the tracks that used to be. Obviously, we've seen some. I noticed it today on the way back to the studio down here, is that when I made that right-hand turn and made the U-turn there off of Yarrington Road, exit 210, there in Kyle, Texas, there's not one, not two, not three, but four brand new industrial-sized distribution centers getting built right on top of the track formerly known as Thunder Hill Raceway and Central Texas Speedway.
Yeah, and that's a bad thing with that. And when you really go back and chase this thing back, and it's something that he'll talk about, is it's not just the asphalt tracks. I mean, there are so many. I mean, when I've gone back and looked at his post, you know, Ghost Tracks, TRAX. There's so many of them, man. I had no idea. I mean, it's drag strips, it's dirt tracks, everything. They are just sitting there desolate, and that kind of really hones in onto how important it is to just support our racetracks that we have at this point, and be a part of something that positive, and that seems to be the biggest thing.
I wonder how many of them all have the remote close to the same story. Once was popular, once was thriving and doing everything else that it needed to do to be a successful entity, and then boom, all of a sudden people stopped showing up, the races stopped showing up, and then the houses probably started popping up, and that was the beginning of the end.
Well, and that's a whole thing that you know, we've kind of, I've been the one on blast, you know, with the San Antonio thing, with everything that they're wanting to do over there, and it's like, you're not going to do that with all the single family building and all that. We've been through that, but it's a sad thing that we've lost all the racetracks, and I really think what he is doing is, for Texans, you need to really listen to this dude and see what he's doing, because there are a bunch. I had no idea that there were that many that we've lost, and we need to appreciate the ones that we still have.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, we talk about how much everything is in terms of the support that you need to support San Antonio when it's up there. But by golly, if you got an asphalt car, there's one asphalt track left, and they got 8 dates down there at the Palace of Power there in Houston. Mm-hmm. That's the track you got to support, because they're the ones that are putting it out there right now, putting the pennies on the pavement and putting the ponies on the floor, and they're the ones that need to get supported during this whole 2023 season, which is actually technically, it's here. 2023 is upon us right now.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, Owen's firing off. I mean, it's time to go racing right now, and you know, I see. I'm glad right there. I did see this. I want to pop this up right here, because somebody's talking about the Texas Dirt Truck Series, and I do want to share this right now, because here are a couple of series that folks need to hone into. The Dwarf Car Racing Series of Texas, near and dear to my heart. I mean, I've got a dwarf car that you know, thanks to my dad, is ready to race, and the dirt trucks. There are those schedules right there. So I mean, hone into these series right here. I'm going to be honest, Bobby. I'm seriously thinking about, for a couple of those Texana races, I may take that car out there. I'm going to get lapped, whatever it is. I just want to get out there and race. And I think maybe at Texana, maybe at South Texas, if I can figure out a way to be able to get that thing there, I think these are the series that if you can't get to a racetrack every week, do something with these guys, because they're really working hard to try to keep these things going.
Yeah, and the Truck Series will more than likely add a couple of dates. They don't actually show the Race Ranch and the Texana schedules on there, so they should be getting a few more dates there. But it's nice to know that at least part of the Texana schedule is released there for the Dwarf Car Race Series of Texas. So that'll be fun. I mean, if you need a way to get down there, I mean, you can hook on the back of my truck, because I'll be heading down there most of the nights.
Well, you haul it there and I'll show up. I'll do the NASCAR thing. I'll just kind of roll up there, with my hair all done, and I'll just kind of roll up there. Y'all get the car ready, and I'll show up, have my suit ready. It's got to be pressed, and I'll jump in the car and go.
You got spoiled from that last ride with Tony. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Everything done for you. You showed up and just started racing.
Tony
passed out a couple of hero cards, and that was it.
Tony was the man that set me up. I'd never been spoiled like he did. Of course, I did tear my fire suit there getting into that car, but that's another story. But I just love that you have those series right there, that they have all of that. And I know that both of those series are working on more dates, and that's a really cool thing. But the thing is, like we go back to when we're about to talk about all the tracks that we've lost, that's what we really need to go back to. And I know a bunch of the focus is on the asphalt thing, where we've lost all these tracks. But what he's about to talk about is, seriously, dude, it is dirt tracks, and you people know this. It's dirt tracks, it's dragways, it's motocross tracks. They're gone. They're gone, and there are relics of them showing up. And the bad part about I've been following his page. It's like you go and watch the pictures that he posts, and it's like the bones are still there, but shit, it's gone. It's gone.
Well, lucky for them, the lone tracks there in Austin, there's nothing left of Longhorn. I guess other than maybe the X, you might could see the X from the Google Earth, but you can't see much. They finally went in and tore down the grandstands and everything. Finally, all the way down.
Flea market, man. Flea market.
Is that what's there now?
Yeah, you can roll right in there for the flea market, and that's the ironic part of that is, if you want to go to the flea market, you got to drive through the X. Isn't that like a kick right in the balls? It's like
it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I see the post right there from Mike. I mean, we need more publicity. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we do. That's why we do this show. The other part is, I know that a lot of folks bitch at racetracks. And it's like, advertise. Have you priced that?
It's expensive.
This show is cheap, but when it comes to doing radio and TV and all this stuff, I mean, it is not easy. It is not easy. And the thing is, I really think right now where it's not easier for a track operator, but social media, for all the shit that we talk about on the show about how it's not a good thing, I think that is the positive thing, is it's free. It's freer that you can get out there and do that stuff. And like we're about to do right here, we're about to talk about all the tracks that are closed. I just wish it was a better topic.
Well, but the topic's got to be had. I would rather have this discussion at the beginning of a racing season than at the end of a racing season, because now you get to reflect on how many are gone. You're like, oh shit, there's a lot of them that are gone. Why don't we support the ones that are still here in this 2023 season coming up here in just a matter of days.
Yeah, and I think the underlying focus of this really is, before we start talking about the tracks that are closed, is talking about DCRST and the Truck Series and all of the racetracks. We talked to so many great folks on the show, and Kevin Sester is about to come on later on and talk about what he's doing at Rocket. It's like, man, if you have a way to jump on there and spend some money with those racetracks, do it. Do it. It's not the power of radio advertising or whatever, but I mean, just spend some money with those folks and let them try to build your brand, let them try to build your business. I mean, set up a campaign to where it can be like a customer appreciation, anything to get folks to that race. I think that's the most important thing that needs to happen at this point.
And you'd be surprised at how little money it'll take to actually get involved with the racetrack. They take pennies on the dollar, believe it or not. If you've got just a little bit of change you want to add to a
Yeah.
purse, they'll take it. Guaranteed they'll take a little bit of it. It doesn't have to be the thousands and thousands of dollars in sponsorship. Sure, that helps out. But, that occasional Benjamin Franklin say, hey, I want to add $100 to this. I want to add $100 to the winner. I want to add $100 to fifth place. I want to add $100 to the purse. They do it 25, 25, 25, 25, 50, 25, 25. Whatever the case may be, if you want to get involved, there's plenty of ways to be able to get involved in a racing.
Yeah. And that's really the key right now. I mean, you got to get involved. You got to be a part of this, and you got to help grow it. And streaming is great. Our friends at Race on Texas, everything that they do right there. I saw our friend who's been on this show, Jennifer Brinson. Jen was on with everything that they do there with their streaming, and she was actually talking about where it's a matter of getting folks to the racetrack. And that really is the thing, to just try to get involved. I mean, be a part of that. I mean, streaming is great, but this show is great. Everything that we do is great, but being at the racetrack and being a part of that. And I was talking, Bobby, we were talking to our man, Ty Henderson, on the show the other day on the Horn, and he had never been to a racetrack, and he has still never been. We're like, dude, show up one time. I think that if you get there, if you go do it one time, you're going to be hooked, because you're going to feel that energy, everything that happens. You're going to like it. If you just go one time, just do it.
No, that's the reason they're doing the Clash in LA again, right? Trying to get all those one-timers to come in and do it again. And I bet there's a lot of repeat business there for the Clash at the Coliseum. Now, it's two totally different atmospheres. That's the NASCAR world, high dollar, high money, all that kind of stuff, versus this local stuff. But a lot of it transcends each other. Yeah. I mean, just because if that's a short track, that is a quarter-mile bull ring inside of a football Olympic stadium, right? That transfers directly over, beating and banging and knocking each other out of the way, to a quarter-mile bull ring, dirt or asphalt, in local short track racing. It's a direct correlation with the two of them. If one's successful, the other one's bound to get a little bit of rub off of it.
Yeah, that's what you see at the regular short track, and I know they were getting close, because I'm looking at FS1 right now. They've got the 2001 race at Rockingham. I mean, they're really building this thing. And I saw some conversation yesterday during the football games and all that, throughout the whole weekend on Fox, where it's like, okay, here's the Clash coming up, the Coliseum. It sucks. No, it doesn't. We are building eyeballs onto that. And that's what we need to do, because that really does reciprocate down to the local tracks. And I know people don't want to hear that, but I mean, if somebody hones in, if you can get 10 people, let's just do this, 10 people that watch the Clash, and they show up at 37, Texana, the Race Ranch, Kennedale, Cotton Bowl, whatever, they have paid. That's free advertising. They watch something and they want to go watch it at your place. That's free. That's totally free. Promote that.
Exactly. I mean, that's the way it should be, right? I mean, if you get to 10 people, even more so than that, if you just get the eyeballs to transfer over, they say, well, this was fun at the Coliseum. What's this Daytona 500 thing? Well, let's watch the Daytona 500. Wow, this is fun again, too. Yeah. There's got to be something locally that I can go see. Then, boom, it's the same trickle-down effect, because we all know, statistically, the races that are on Fox, or the Super Bowls that are on Fox, has the most corresponding popular, highly rated Daytona 500s, because Fox will promote the hell out of that Daytona 500 during the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you all for the Dallas Cowboy texts. I'm still getting them right now. I'll talk about that later. This is not the time or place to do that, but yes, I know what happened there. I saw it, and I predicted it. But really good stuff right there, and that really is the key. I mean, especially on the night that we're about to talk about, all the tracks that we have lost. That is that really drives home the point to get to the track, support the racetracks, because they are falling off. They are like really gone. I mean, there's nothing happening anymore. There's not new tracks. There's not any of that. Folks always tell me, I would love to build a brand new racetrack. They should build a brand new racetrack at COTA. Well, why would they? You look at social media. I wouldn't do that reading off of that. Why would they? The key is support what we have, because there are more that are gone than what are active at the moment.
Absolutely. I mean, there's always more that's going to be gone than what's going to be active. But I mean, I think that with Andrew's stuff coming on, I think we're going to realize a whole different atmosphere of, oh wow, I forgot about that track, or really that track was that successful and closed. I think that's going to be an eye opener. Which is one of the reasons we wanted to bring him on, was to open the eyeballs, to find a way to try to make people realize they need to support all of these open short tracks as much as they can during 2023.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's dive into that. Lone Star Speed Zone Hotline. This is a man that has been track chasing. This is something, and this has to be something from the heart to be able to do this. I mean, because while it is totally fascinating to me, obviously with the Lost Speedways thing and everything that I've been a part of, it man, it kicks me right in the balls and breaks my heart every time that I see pictures of these racetracks that are long gone. It is Andrew Thornton checking in. It is Ghost Tracks. That is TRAX. Follow on Facebook. Andrew, how we doing, sir?
I'm doing all right, my man. How are you?
Man, I'm doing well. I'm doing well, dude. I want to first of all thank you for doing what you're doing. Tell me, how did this start for you? Give us your background on how. I know that you have a racing background and everything with this, but how did you take this labor of love up with what you're doing?
You know, so it was never anything that just started out on purpose. As a matter of fact, it was just kind of one of those family trips. We actually visited Joplin, Missouri, where my parents are from, or my dad anyway. And at the time, this was back in about 2015, I was 19 years old, and the Joplin 66 Speedway was a track I had gone to at one of our previous visits there years prior, and I had asked about it, and they told me, well, it's still there, but it's closed. So I thought, well, why don't we just go see if we can't take photos of the place? And I did. I made a short YouTube video and put it online, and a bunch of people seemed to like it. And from there, it turned into, I think we did 15 or 16 tracks in Missouri, Texas, and even another family trip to Georgia. Did a couple tracks there. And it started off with me and my younger brother just doing this as something to do on our off weekends. I mean, like you said, I come from a racing background, and drag racing in particular, and when my bracket car was broke, I needed something else to do on the weekends. So that's kind of where it started and came from, and eventually we ended up moving to Missouri a little later on, and I started working full-time for a racetrack up there as a photographer and a track prep man, and the whole thing kind of fell off. And then when I moved back to the Dallas-Fort Worth area this past year, it's like I know there's a lot of racetracks in this area. In particular, another track I visited is Cowtown Speedway in Kennedale. And I had raced at the drag strip at Texas Raceway in the past, and New Hope Road could be a whole conspiracy episode in itself, in my opinion. But
yeah.
Just to put it lightly, but and so from there, I got to thinking about that. It's like there's a lot of tracks, and it's not just Texas in particular that I follow. I have over 4,000 racetracks pinned on Google Earth through the entire United States that are past, present, and some of them go all the way back to the early 1900s. Even just most, and some of them just look like a crop circle, but we found them, and I try to get what little history I can and document it. And eventually I'd like to be able to give that information to anybody that would find it interesting enough to look through it all. But sorry, I probably got way off track from what you were wanting, but yeah, I do that.
No, Andrew, it's fine. So when you get the history of these racetracks and different stuff with it, do you find that a lot of the racetracks had the same kind of trajectory of being successful, and then we're there, and the next thing you know, like we had a couple of racetracks here that were really successful, and then all of a sudden the houses started popping up next to it. Even though the racetrack was there first, they complained enough to the city council, and boom, racetrack has to shut down. Did you notice that as far as some of the same reasons on why, at least on some of these modern tracks, they had to shut down?
So in today's modern times, yes, housing and other developments encroaching is always, seems to be a common trend.
Yeah.
Other common trends you might see is economic declines in certain areas. There's some tracks that are built so far out of town because they were scared of the developers that it was so far away that the racers and spectators wouldn't go. Other ones you run into is competition from other racetracks trying to run the same tracks, same cars, same nights. And some people have a preference one way or, towards one over the other. But, of the many reasons tracks close, those three are the ones I see a lot of.
Mm-hmm. So, Andrew, what's it like when you walk into these places? I mean, for us here in Central Texas, with Kyle and Austin and San Antonio, all of these places, you go walking into these things and you see that. I mean, it's like I said, it's very exciting. At the same time, it's very sad when you walk into this and just see these things deteriorating and dissolving with the earth taking them over. It's got to be just a lot of emotions that you're walking into these things.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when it's tracks that, I myself have visited. A good number of these tracks that I have listed, I either what happened before my time, but there's also a good number of them that, I frequented myself. I mean, the two of my most popular posts on the Ghost Track Facebook page right now are about Houston Raceway Park's dirt track and Battleground Speedway. Both tracks is what I called home, when I was growing up. And, the emotions of going back to these places is always rough. And then, you mentioned some of those tracks. I never did make it to Kyle, but I did photograph another Austin area track, the Longhorn Speedway, a few years back. Mm-hmm. And I have done San Antonio as well. And San Antonio in particular was like, wow. I mean, at that time, it'd only been closed 3 years, I guess. And, it's like, a little bit of weed whacking and this place could, potentially see this, see some action again. And then there's some that you go to, it's like, wow, it's only been closed 3 years and look how overgrown it is. How did it get this way?
Yeah.
It's crazy how that works, especially in San Antonio. They tried to revive it once and it worked for about 3 races. So they had a rain out and then everybody decided to stop showing up again for whatever reason. We don't know why, because we were all there and they had to tell everybody to scoot cheek to get it more people in the grandstand. So that was, when they reopened, that place was packed. And then, all of a sudden we seen it on the big track. Rockingham was kind of the same way when they came back with a Truck Series race and everybody showed up the first time. And then that second year, nobody was there and they had to stop doing it. So in terms of the racetracks that you've been to, obviously we know that it sounds like Battleground is near and dear to your heart. On a metropolitan area the size of Houston, the only other dirt track that we can think of I can think of off the top of my head that's a dirt track around Houston is our friends over in Cleveland on Highway 59. They're going up north. That's crazy to think that a metropolitan area as big as Houston has only one dirt track, and it's kind of out in the woods, so to speak, unlike the DFW Metroplex area that you could put your hand down and touch 5 different dirt tracks that race either on Thursday or Friday nights.
Right. Yeah. And what's even more, disheartening about Houston is just how quickly it declined. You have 105 Speedway, and that is your only, track for full-size stock cars, or you have to go down to Alvin and go down to Gulf Coast Speedway and go watch the micro sprints.
Yeah.
But when I moved away from Houston the first time in 2016, we still had Battleground. We still had Willis, still had Houston Raceway Park had run its final race, and we didn't know. And, Beaumont, Golden Triangle Raceway Park was still open at that time.
Yeah.
So just in the span of 6 years, you're talking, you lost 5 tracks in a metro area as big as Houston. And it's not just, oval tracks, that I particularly cover. It's the drag strips as well. In the last 10 years in Houston, we've lost Lone Star, Angleton, Houston Raceway Park is closing the drag strip in April. So that's going to leave you with Houston Motorsports Park being the only drag strip left in the Houston metro area, adjacent to the only paved oval track in the state of Texas.
Yeah. And I think one of the coolest things that you do, I mean, because we can talk about, when it comes to racetracks, when it comes to Austin, San Antonio, Corpus Christi. I mean, all of these, major, put a pin on them. All of these major towns, you have gone out and you have found all of the ones that in the suburbs or whatever you want to call them. I mean, you have found everything that was kind of laying in between. Maybe not like Silsbee Speedway, for example. I mean, you go out and you find these racetracks, and there are so many of these that folks just don't get it. When we talk about the racetracks in Austin and San Antonio and all this, Houston, whatever, that we've lost, there are so many drag racing, dirt track, asphalt racetracks that we have lost in Texas that folks may not know about.
Oh, absolutely. And, and something else I've noticed through my research is the average lifespan for just about any racetrack only lasts between 7 and 15 years for what it seems to,
Damn.
Tongue-tied. 7 to 15 years seems to be about the average run for most racetracks. And, I could make an entire list on drag strips that were run on airport runways that only ran twice, or,
Wow.
A county fair dirt track that held one race in 1945 or 1947, and they didn't make any money on it, so they never did it again.
Mm-hmm.
And and it is cool to find the tracks out in the middle of nowhere. One I can think of off the top of my head is the Hill Country Raceway out between San Antonio and San Angelo. It's so far out in the middle of nowhere.
And that's a nice
I'm assuming
one.
that's
yeah.
But no, I try to research and find as many as I can. And since I've revised the page here the last couple months, I've had a couple of people get a hold of me and give me a lot of really good info on some of the more obscure tracks that I had. Tatum Raceway Park up in Henderson, Texas, being one of them. I had a gentleman get a hold of it, said his dad used to promote it, had some photos for me, had a little bit more information on the years, because I had a location and I had an old Google Earth image of a D-shaped track out there, but I didn't know anything about it. And, it's really neat when I am able to get a hold of somebody that has some sort of connection to the tracks, like I do, with the tracks I grew up with, and, them being able to help me out. And a couple of gentlemen have sent me information on tracks that have been gone since the 60s that they have photos of.
I love it.
Wow. We need to get you in touch with Texas Tom Taylor. That's who you need to talk to. He is our encyclopedia when it comes to all things, especially asphalt-related racing there in Texas. I think you and Tom would have a conversation that would last for hours upon hours, because Tom always fills us in on the best stuff. So let's move away from the ghost track for a second. Let's talk about your background there in announcing. That's a passion that's near and dear to Rodney and mine's heart with the announcing that we do. And before you're coming on, we were talking about the best way to support the tracks that are already in business right now, so they don't become another track on your list. From the announcing perspective, what do you think it is that gets people to come to the racetrack more? Is there a direct correlation when NASCAR is successful, when they see a fight on social media? What is it you think that draws some of these fans out to these short tracks nowadays?
That is a really good question, because you're probably going to get a million different answers, and that makes it hard for me to pick one. And I think it's an answer that changes depending on where your track is built and who your demographic is. Most places nowadays, the days of people liking races running from 6 o'clock at night till 2 in the morning are pretty much gone. Most people want to see a good, fluently run show with not a lot of downtime. Some people will like the tracks prepped a certain way. Some people want to see it dry slick. Some people want to see it, hammer down and flying. And, in my opinion, I don't think, fights are a bad thing as long as they're not too frequent. If it's a fight between two drivers, I think it's great.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't like seeing videos online of track officials and spectators getting involved because they don't have to. Good short track racing where the only thing hotter than the brakes is the tempers is a pretty good tagline that I like to use.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree with that. I mean, it's the entertainment factor. I think that's the one thing where it has changed. I mean, for all of us. I mean, it's always been. I mean, like I've said many times, many times, Andrew. I don't mind staying at the racetrack till 4 a.m., but that's on my own accord. I don't want to be out there watching racing at that time. I want it to flow. So your thoughts on this when you walk up to these racetracks and your history with this, to see the folks that are trying to be promoters right now, isn't that a hell of a job? I mean, it's like shit to be a racetrack promoter right now. I mean, that is a thankless job at this moment.
Oh, absolutely. And it doesn't matter what kind of racing you're in there. And the unfortunate reality of it is, you know, especially if you're on social media, all the algorithms are geared to show you all the negative feedback every week. So the people that are actually praising you tend to get buried. But, with all the racetracks I've worked with, I've been fortunate or unfortunate enough, depending who you ask, you know, to be kind of in the ring of trying to help promote a track, especially one that's starting back up again after several years closed. And it's absolutely thankless, because most people expect perfection the first night, or, you know, at least the vocal ones do. The people that actually enjoy it don't seem to get out there enough. But no, promoting a racetrack of any kind. You know, right now I currently work with a drag strip over in Louisiana, and it's hit or miss. Sometimes the comments are, you know, full of great things, and sometimes the comments are terrible. The phone calls are back and forth between whether they like it or whether they don't like it, and I couldn't imagine trying to, you know, deal with a dirt track right now. Truly.
I know.
So, Andrew, when it comes to the research that you've done on some of the closed tracks, is there a certain, what draws you to the racetrack? Is it the story of it? Is it the newness of finding one where you're like, oh hell, that's a cool track. Where did that one come from? I mean, is it just all open into your world as to try to figure out which way you want to go next, or is there a method to your madness?
I guess the correct answer to everything you just said would be yes. I don't really have a rhyme or reason or method. The whole I'm gonna document all the Texas tracks for everybody, just because, you know, I once again, I live in Texas. These are all tracks that are within a few hours drive of me for the most part, and being in this area and having new friends through social media for being back in this area and getting to hear the stories that everybody has to share, you know, finding out about places I didn't know anything about. It's just cool to have that wealth of information, I guess, would probably be the overall motivation to it.
Yeah. So I have to ask you, so obviously, you know, the tracks that are near and dear to your heart, the other ones that you've walked up to, besides the ones that you are connected to, is there anyone in particular? It doesn't matter if it's a drag strip, a dirt track, whatever. Is there anything that you've walked up to and you're like, damn, how did this happen? Is there one that kind of tugs at the heartstrings besides your home tracks?
Oh, you put me on the spot there with that one.
Oh, sorry.
Hard-hitting journalism. That's what it is.
Any one particular track that stands out? It's not really in particular. That just like that one track absolutely hit me. I mean, you know, me being I'm just an overall racing fanatic, and seeing it, you know, any track closed and dilapidated is a bad deal, you know, for everybody involved, in my opinion. To answer your question, I really I can't think of one off the top of my head. I didn't prepare that one for an answer.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You know, the whole thing is, I mean, I assume with that, I mean, and that's part of what you're doing. It's like, okay, they just all look alike. I mean, they all look alike. I mean, they're all closed, and it's a sad thing. And I gotta tell you, man, this really is a labor of love that you've taken on. I mean, because for all the race fans that we have on this show that check in every week, I mean, it's folks that have been involved with this, 30, 40, 50 years. And this topic, like we talked about, or like I messaged you, it's like either really exciting or really freaking depressing. And I think that's something that you've taken on, and that's probably the mindset with this for you.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm a younger guy myself, so most of the tracks I'm speaking about here are way before my time. But it's great
Yep.
when I find one that I post online here, and have the folks that remember going. They share their pictures, share their stories, and that's what it's all about. Because I understand some of the older crowd may not access the internet as well as others, so they get to come back and reminisce and share their stories, and that's what I love about it. And it is all exciting and depressing all at once, because I'm just further convinced every single track that I post that I was born in the wrong generation.
Yeah, you miss the good stuff, my man. Tell everybody where to find your stuff. I mean, absolutely. It's something like I talked about. I mean, I want people to hone into what you're doing, because it's a topic near and dear to our hearts here on this show. Ghost Tracks, TRAX. Tell them where to find you, man, and let's make this thing be well.
Well, the only place to find me right now is currently on Facebook at Ghost Tracks. That's Ghost, and TRAX, Ghost Tracks.
Yeah. Good stuff, my friend. Appreciate the conversation, and thanks for doing what you're doing. It is really cool to go back and revisit all of the great places that we miss. I mean, there's a lot of folks that I know that grew up at racetracks and get to see what you're doing, and it's like a piece of the heart coming back. So, man, thanks so much, and thank you for jumping on our program tonight.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for the invite. I'm glad that you, along with several others, seem to really appreciate the effort and like my little project that seems to have just blown up overnight. And I definitely enjoy the conversation, and hopefully run into you somewhere at one of these active tracks sometime this year.
We'll do it again soon, man. Thanks so much for the time, and we'll talk to you a little bit later on, man.
All right, absolutely. Thank you.
You bet. There he goes, Andrew Thornton. And that really is that conversation. When we talk about that, with Dale Jr. and all that, Lost Speedways, and I mean, that is really great. It's really cool to see all that. But at the same time, with everything that he has posted, Ghost Tracks, it's Ghost, TRAX. Look it up on Facebook. You see those pictures, and it's like, shit. It sucks. I mean, it sucks, but to have somebody that's actually going out and chasing that, it kind of does feel neat, I think.
It's different. I mean, right? Even though it's negative because they're all closing, it's a good positive thing that somebody's out there to tell the history of these racetracks. I mean, I think that it's really cool that people are now showing him pictures and saying, hey, my dad used to promote this track, so here's some pictures that we have of it. This is some more information on it. And if boom, there's another track in the archive. So while it's sad and very depressing of all the racetracks that he's having to go to that are now closed, it is good to know that at least they once were there. I liked what he said about the racetrack life expectancy. I thought it'd actually be a little higher. We've talked about it on the show before, where the average short track is about 1.5 generations worth, meaning about 15 to 20 years. Of racers, so that's about the average. And obviously, you get some that are a lot longer. Obviously, Corpus ran forever, Longhorn ran forever, but in San Antonio ran pretty much forever too. So, I think that it's the newest model. I think would be this 20-year model that because it just seemed like all the Texas stuff closed at one time. It was just boom, boom, boom. Longhorn closed, then it was Kyle was running hot and heavy, and then that's when San Antonio was running hot and heavy. Boom, San Antonio closed. Boom, Corpus closed a couple of different times. Yeah. And then you had Altus, that's an airport now, and same thing with Sooner up in Oklahoma.
Yeah. And I think that's really the thing where the dirt track folks in Texas don't realize, because there are so many. I mean, we are blessed that we have so many of those tracks. But when you go back and look at everything that he is posting right there, like, I mean, Waco, to me, Waco really is the staple. I mean, that's the one, and it's deep in the heart of Texas. Boom, right in the middle. And they've been, 56, 7 years, whatever it is that they keep doing what they're doing. But there are so many. If you go and look at his page, if you go and look at that page, man, I had no idea until I reached out to him how many racetracks that we've lost. I mean, I'm just going to CC Speedway and like what you're talking about, Bobby. I mean, there's so many that have gone by the wayside, and that's when, if you really want to feel depressed about the ones that we've lost, go back and look at what he's found. And there have been so many. I mean, it's repetitive. I mean, it's a pattern. I mean, there are just so many. And I think that's where dirt track race fans need to really hone in Texas. This is just Texas. You need to hone in there and support those racetracks right now that you have, because we've seen it on the pavement side in the last, I don't know, I'll say 30 years. We've seen those racetracks go away. I don't give a damn. And this goes back to bitching at the promoter and all this stuff. This is where you need to support those places, because when they're gone, they look like his page. And there's a bunch, a hell of a bunch. It's crazy.
A whole bunch of them. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
It's just maddening to see it. And a lot of it has the same story. A lot of it was, half of them sounded like that was because of the land encroachment of the housing and the urban development. That's some of it. And then the other part is just people just stop going. We've talked about it before. That's the blessing and the curse of Cotton Bowl Speedway. Cotton Bowl, one of the most beautiful racetracks in the country. We love going there. H and Marianne do a fantastic job running that joint. Pits are full. Everything's full. Everything works well at Cotton Bowl for the most part. Problem is, it's in the middle of nowhere, legit nowhere. It's incredible to see the continuing effort by the fans and the racers to show up at that racetrack, because it is out of the beaten path. It is out in the middle of nowhere. And so, that's a detriment and a curse, but also a good thing. You shouldn't have to worry about houses popping up around Cotton Bowl where they're going to complain about the noise. So that's a good thing right there on the county line between Fayette or Lee and Bastrop County.
Yeah. And I see a post right there about Pan American on the Facebook feed. And if you really go back and think about that, I mean, looking at this thing right now, I mean, I've said for a long time with the San Antonio thing, if you want to have a racetrack, go to Retama. And again, I know that that's a far-fetched idea to be able to undertake that. But when you go back and look at Pan American Speedway back in the days in San Antonio, and to me, I say it a lot, my heart breaks. I know that's a worn-out thing that I say, but to me, it kills me that San Antonio does not have. I know 37 is in Pleasanton, but to me, San Antonio should have a racetrack within that. All of those racetracks, or all of those racetracks, all of those roads, like you say. Yeah, with the 410 and all of that, there should be somewhere where that city, that community should have a racetrack, whether it be dirt or asphalt, because they could support it, because people would show up. You may get some Austin folks and Houston and all this. It really sucks. I mean, and when you go back and look, and there's pictures on Ghost Tracks about Pan American, both of them, that they don't have that. San Antonio does not have that, and they could afford that. And that sucks. That sucks. And that is a racing. San Antonio and Corpus are the ones that could pull it off. And, the funny thing is, me growing up as a kid, we'd go to San Antonio and then make the drive to Corpus. And it's like, shit, that's a long way. It's not really that far.
Not anymore.
It's not
like
really
a hop
that
and a
far.
skip. Yeah.
It's like right down the road. It's right down the road. And if you could find something there, and that's where Pleasanton is there, but I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about 37, but San Antonio needs something, because they could pull it off.
Well, I-37 has the same problem that Cotton Bowl has. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, and they've done a great job with the fans that are showing up on a consistent basis. Same thing with their racers that are showing up on a consistent basis. For some of those big mod shows, the IMCA modified shows, they get racers from all over the state coming down to run for those IMCA points. So they've got a formula that's working. Although it would be nicer for the San Antonio proper area, the main metropolitan area, to have a racetrack within a 5 to 10 mile drive of San Antonio proper, thinking outside of the box around 1604. You shouldn't have to go very far to get to a racetrack in San Antonio.
Yeah. I was looking at something the other day where there was some conversation going on the internet somewhere, and somebody posted something about racing in Texas, and it was, back when All Pro had I think it was 84, 85, something like that. And you had the double headers at Corpus, and they would jam the stands at CC Speedway, and then they'd race at the half mile the next day. And it's like, man, that's where I go back to that. And it's like, man, to have those days again, it's really hard. I mean, it's really hard. And I know to sustain that, it's so much different right now, but this is where we go back to the conversation we just had right there with Andrew. And it's like to go back and look at all of these places that are gone. And he's got a picture there of, I know the whole thing with the San Antonio conversation. He's got a picture of SAS, Texas Dirt Speedway, Alamo Dragway, all of that right there, man. You had your whole, triplex right there. I know times are different, but man, to have that back again and to figure out a way to build that again is impossible. But to go back and look at what we had and lost, that sucks. It really does suck.
It does, and they're fairly recent pictures of the San Antonio stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
recent. I mean, the post was back in the first part of January. So.
Yeah. And the whole thing is, I mean, I know that a lot of folks go back to the Texas Dirt Speedway, and the funny thing is, I remember when that came about, and it's like, what the hell is this? And they would jam that place, and it really was that was kind of a triplex right there where you could go in and catch everything that you wanted. I mean, I remember the folks in San Antonio sitting up at the top of SAS or Highway 16, sitting there looking at what Alamo Dragway was doing. And those days are gone. I mean, it's impossible to do that again. But I really think that you need to go back in here and figure out what we need to do to sustain what we have. And that's where so many people, it's like talking about like with the Cowboys. My team lost again. Everybody's talking about, well, back in 95, we won all these Super Bowls, and talking about the Texas Longhorns. 2005, we won the national championship. That's gone. We need to figure out what to do now. And I think that's what really, with what he's talking about, what Andrew's talking about with the ghost tracks and seeing all of these pictures of all the shit that's gone. We need to appreciate that and figure out what we need to do to have to be able to have what we have now be sustainable.
Yeah, and all it takes is for everybody to work together. And it's the cold nacho philosophy there, or the cold hot dog and the extra jalapenos. I guess that wasn't that KR that told us that.
Yep.
One time he got the email about too many jalapenos on his nachos or something like that. But it's the cold hot dog theory that somebody's going to raise a stink on the internet about a cold hot dog and not mention about how damn good the racing was, because all they're worried about is that cold $2 hot dog.
Yeah. And that's really the bad thing. I mean, for the Texans, I mean, go and look at Ghost Tracks, TRAX on Facebook. If you want to piss and moan, the next time before you're going to jump on that damn social media and bitch out one of these promoters or jump on one of these pages and talk about all the shit that was bad, that really wasn't that big of a deal, pick up the phone and call them and go look at all of those ghost tracks that are gone. Because each and every time that you do that, that is what you are enhancing the opportunity for your track to be. And it really is. Bobby, I know that we talked about this when THR or CTS, whatever you want to call it, when it was going away after all of that incident there with that, it was, okay, your customers are watching and you're sitting here posting on social media, and these are the people that want to be a part of your sport, and you're doing that shit. And each and every time that happens, that's why you wind up with the shit that he's posting on Ghost Tracks.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly why.
Yeah. Each and every time. Great conversation right there. Follow it. It is Ghost Tracks. That, at the same time, like we said, very cool and very depressing. Stick around. # Real Race Talk on Monday. No Monday Night Football. But We're talking to Kevin Sestair coming up from Rocket Raceway Park. This is the Revved Up Sports Show from Texas.
Generation Race Cars and JL Racing, located in Springtown, Texas, are now offering top-of-the-line, state-of-the-art Southern Sport mods and limited modifieds. Generation Race Cars and JL Racing can provide new cars, turnkey, complete bodies, shock revalving, and chassis updates, along with providing trackside setup guidance and a whole lot more. If you're looking at competing at a whole new level, call 817-528-2947 and ask for Justin today. You can contact them through the JL Racing Facebook page to learn more about Generation Race Cars. You put a ton of effort into your race program. Now take it to victory lane with GRC.
Hey everybody, Rodney Rodriguez for CRS Suspension. Are you ready to take your racing program into victory lane? Well, if you are, then it's time to call CRS Suspension, the industry leader in handling technology. CRS now solely owned by winning iStock and late model racer Jeffrey Abbey, whose knowledge can do big things for your oval track success. Give CRS Suspension and Fabrication a call today at 325-330-0647 and learn how you can get the shocks and technical guidance that will put you into the winner's circle. You either have CRS shocks under your car or you get outrun by those who do. Choose to win and call CRS Suspension today and follow them on Facebook at CRS Suspension Fabrication.
Have you heard about the latest and greatest technology being built around the DFW area? Generation Race Cars and JL Racing, located in Springtown, Texas, are now offering top-of-the-line, state-of-the-art Southern Sport mods and limited modifieds. Generation Race Cars and JL Racing can provide new cars, turnkey, complete bodies, shock revalving, and chassis updates, along with providing trackside setup guidance and a whole lot more. If you're looking at competing at a whole new level, call 817-528-2947 and ask for Justin today. You can contact them through the JL Racing Facebook page to learn more about Generation Race Cars. You put a ton of effort into your race program. Now take it to victory lane with GRC.
Back on a Monday edition here of the Revved Up Sports Show. Good conversation there with Ghost Tracks, Adam Thornton. So like we said, check out his page on Facebook. That's the best way to get in touch with him and tell him about the stories that you had at certain racetracks and all that. But the conversation goes on, doesn't it, Rodney, about the way we need to just support the racetracks, and we're going to support one of the big ones coming up here in a couple of weeks here at the Rocket Raceway Park.
Yeah, man, it really does. I mean, the whole thing is just hone into your racetrack, do anything that you can to kind of help them out, and that really is the thing. A lot of that is it doesn't have to. You don't have to spend money. Just don't say anything negative and just support them. I think that's a big thing.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Nothing negative, just support them the best you can.
Yeah, and that I think that's a really big thing. And we're about to dive in right now as we jump back to the Lone Star Speed Zone Hotline, talking about one of the hot racetracks in the state of Texas. And this is the man that is at the helm. It is our brother Kevin Sestair. How we doing, man?
I'm good, sir. How are y'all doing?
Man, we are doing really well. We are doing really well. We were actually on the conversation, kind of depressing this evening about tracks that are gone, but one track that is not gone is your racetrack, Rocket Raceway Park. Talk about the stuff before we dive into the event coming up. Tell me about the things that you are doing at the Speedway right now, making it better. It's really impressive to see what you're doing there.
Well, you know, that's something we try to focus on, over the winter months is just, try to upgrade the facility, as much as we possibly can with the dollars that we have available. And I made a post a couple weeks ago that, the marketing dollars that we get, that's that's where all that, or most of that money goes, is back into the facilities, you know. So we've been very, very fortunate to have some good marketing partners. We do a lot of horse trading with a lot of them, you know, Costin and Son Ready Mix. They're the class partner for the USRA Limited Modified B mods. You know, they furnished pretty much all the concrete that we had poured on the general mission side. We hooked up with a concrete company there in Paris. They helped out some of their on their end. So we got new fence coming here pretty soon. Fence companies helping out. Dirt guys. Just, you know, it's takes a small army, and we're fortunate enough to have some really, really good marketing partners, and so we try to spruce up the facilities. That's something I really enjoy doing. Just giving it some color, and you know, trying to make it where people want to come and see it, and you know, make them proud of what we've got. So,
Yep.
Yeah, Kevin, that's a good problem to have when you know you need to update the facility because more and more fans are coming, right? We just talked to the Ghost Track guy about all the racetracks that are going down to the weeds and stuff like that. So to see you guys continue to grow and revolutionize Rocket the way that it has been, just exploding the last couple of years, it's good to see, and it's also nice that I appreciate that you're telling people the way that it kind of worked a little bit. While it's not necessarily, we tell people it's easy ways to support a promoter. It's not always about dollars and cents. It's always about, you could add $25 to a purse. You could add $100 to a purse. You could pick up a phone call to the promoter and say, "Hey, is there any way I can help out?" And you guys would be more than happy to give them a number of different ways to help out, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of a you know, it'd be really, really easy to, you know, put that money in our pockets and call it good, and actually you know, have a salary that made it worth your while to do it. But you know, luckily for me, you know, I've got a business that pretty much takes care of that, so I'm able to, you know, do this. You know, we do it. It's a business, you know, but you know, we are fortunate enough that we can take that money and put it back in the facilities, and in turn, you know, if we can spruce up the facilities, make it a little bit easier and nicer for the fans, you know, the more fans we get in the stands, then that's where we can start paying out more purses. You know, that's where, you know, you generate a lot more of your money for purses or whatnot. So we're trying to get away from that idea of having to make the back gate pay for your purses. Unfortunately, that's just the truth about how things operate nowadays. For most of your local tracks, you know, it's back gate driven, and we're trying to change it, you know, at our location. Not all tracks, but most of the tracks in Texas, you know, and you know, we talked to a lot of different promoters, and a lot of it's back gate driven, and you know, we're trying to get it through the front gate where, you know, we can take a little bit of that pressure off the racers, and we can give back a little bit more to those guys, because, you know, as well as you guys know, this stuff is not cheap, you know. It's not cheap. It's not cheap to operate a track either. So, you know, the electric bill, you know, I was telling somebody the other day, our electric bill is $1,500 a month, and it doesn't matter if we turn a light on or if we got 20 lights going. You know, it's a set fee, and that's what we've got to pay. That's the minimum. And so these last few months, you know, we hadn't been racing, you know, that electric bill is still $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And Kevin, isn't that the thing that you're talking about right there? Because my regular life is real estate, and we always talk about curb appeal and all this other shit. I mean, that really is the thing for short track promoters. I think that we really need to hone into that stuff. I mean, I know, like Marianne at Cotton Bowl, she always has, you know, facilities where women want to show up because the bathrooms are clean. I mean, all of this stuff. That really is important to get folks in the door. Man, you got to make it presentable. I mean, as dumb as that sounds, you can't, when you got rusty nails and shit hanging out of the wall, I mean, you can't be doing that. I mean, it's got to look presentable.
It does, and you know, that something that we do on our special events when we have bigger crowds, is we actually have a bathroom attendant, and that's pretty much
nice.
All she does is she just checks the restrooms throughout the night, and make sure, you know, toilet paper's full, trash is picked up, and there's no issues there. And when we're trying to run a race program, we don't need people calling us or, hounding us about, we're out of toilet paper or whatnot. So just something that we try to do. And I think it's, like you said, the women's bathrooms, believe it or not, is one of the most important pieces to a racetrack is making sure that women's bathroom is always clean. And we keep the men's clean too, so, it's just something we try to do on our end. I've been to a lot of tracks across the country and, some of them, they look like it's been cleaned in 8 months,
couple weeks.
So, but, yeah, exactly. So, but no, it's, we're trying to make it as friendly as we can. We had some issues there that we knew we had, didn't have enough time to address them last year. So that's something that we really focused on this year. The access to the general mission grandstands was somewhat of a challenge. We had to actually hire somebody to drive a golf cart back and forth up the hill.
Wow.
Because the hill was so steep that, the elderly and, whatnot they had a hard time getting up the hill. So a lot of them wouldn't come. So we made that post about this is what we're doing. And they started coming back out. So, cause they knew, hey, we're going to get you to your seat and we'll get you back to your vehicle, So we focused a little bit more on that this year. There's some bleacher issues, just small stuff that, your average racer or spectator might not pay any attention to, but it's some of the smaller stuff that we try to pay a little bit more attention to and details to.
No doubt.
Yeah, Kevin, now when you go to a different racetrack, I know it's a little different for Rodney and I when we go to different racetracks. We get to listen to some of the announcers and knowing as many promoters as we do, talking to you guys as often as we get to. We see things at racetracks, and sometimes we're like, damn, that's a really good idea. And other times we'll just shake our head and be like, what in the hell are they doing, or what in the hell are they thinking? Do you have that same challenge when you go to some of these other racetracks? Sometimes your eyes get wide open, and other times your tongue gets hurt from biting your tongue so much, doesn't it?
Well, believe it or not, when I do go to different racetracks, I find myself not watching the races or, paying attention to what's really going on the racetrack as much now because I'm looking to see, how the concession line's flowing, what, how clean is everything, what are they doing in their, how are the record drivers, how's their EMT, their fire, how do they respond to that stuff? So I just kind of, being now that I'm on the promoter side of things, I look at that stuff more than maybe I used to when I was out, racing, but even then, I mean, I always paid attention to that stuff. And, I think that's been helpful in some of the, some of our success is just, being able to go to a lot of different tracks and see stuff that works and what doesn't work and just kind of put it all together, so, it's just, it's definitely a challenge at times, but it's we always try to get through it somehow.
Yeah, always learning. I mean that's really the main thing. So let's talk about. Moving into the new season. I mean, you're about to fire off. I mean, you got a big one coming up in February. So what you learned from last year? I mean, you guys. I mean, you fired the racetrack off, and you did really good things right there. And now here you go. I mean, it's how do you follow up on that? I mean, we keep popping up the schedule right there. It looks like a full calendar that you have set there at Rocket. What are the expectations for you as we go into 2023?
Well, I mean, we pretty much stuck with the same schedule we had last year. We added that, the Eiffel Tower Classic. We added that, and then we added the on September the 29th and 30th. I got with Nathan Moore. He's been wanting wanted to do a big sprint car show with his wing and non-wing classes. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna call that the Rocket Launcher 30, and we're gonna bring in the Lone Star Dwarf cars and the Texas Model Lights, and we're gonna attempt. Now I don't know for sure if we're gonna be able to do it or not, but we're gonna attempt to pay $3,000 in all four of those divisions that Saturday night. So. But as far as the rest of the schedule goes, it's pretty much pretty similar to what we did last year. It worked last year. We've found that that group of racers in that area, they absolutely love weekly racing. I think they get geared up for Saturday morning and they're excited to be at the racetrack on Saturday afternoon, hanging out with their buddies. And, I've said it time and time again, it's, this group of racers that we have up here, just, they're a pleasure to work with and just a good group of people. We had our banquet a few weeks ago and, I think we had 300 people at the banquet. And, so that's a pretty good number for a banquet nowadays. We've had, several back in, last few years, and the turnout wasn't quite that good, but, it's, these guys up here, they're just, they're ate up with it. Got guys building cars. The fans are, starting to find out about Rocket, and that's a good thing. Paris is full of, it's a racing town. I didn't realize it until we, kind of got up here and got involved with the community, and it's been very, very nice being here.
Love it.
So, Kevin, two things I noticed about the schedule that I love. I love the logos that you guys made for everything. The Eiffel Tower Classic, the Rocket Challenge. I love how that's laid out with the different classes, and you guys having an extra, basically the full Rocket Challenge classes and an extra touring class, if you will. The thing that I noticed the most is that, unlike a lot of racetracks, except for maybe Heart of Texas Speedway there in Waco, you're one of the only tracks that's running every single week. Now, a lot of tracks are every other week. Is that more advantageous for you guys to run all those races because it just works better being just continuously operated, or is that one of those where the racing demand was there to make you guys race every week instead of, say, maybe every other week?
Well, we really don't. There's a couple of tracks that are close to us. I guess Kevin over at Architects would probably be my closest USRA running buddy, I guess you'd say, on a Saturday night. And he's probably 2.5 hours away from us. What we found was these guys, like I just said, they absolutely come Saturday night, every Saturday night. These guys are, they're at the gate 30 minutes before the gates open. Yep. And so we found that these guys really like the weekly program. So it was one of those deals where it just made sense to, run every week. I mean, we're not running every week. We've got an Easter break there. We're off, I think a couple times in July. Yeah. So we do give them a couple breaks there in between, and then we take off the second week of August, so we don't race all the way, through August. We give them a couple 3 weeks there to get ready for September, and we come back with those 3 specials in September. Then we have the 2 in October. So it's just it fit for what we did last year, and if it's not broke, we don't need to fix it. So,
right.
the only thing I'm a little concerned about, and and I'm not a big fan of it.
Here we go.
We have to do it. Yeah. We have to do it. I feel like we've got just a couple, 3 too many classes maybe, but unfortunately that's just kind of, I think we've talked about it in the past. I think that's where we're at right now. And, we've got a couple, 3 classes that are not full fields, I guess you'd say. So we kind of consider those maybe 1 to 1.5 classes, if you will. Yeah. So
totally
we can still run those guys and run those classes and still, run a timely program and get everybody, home in a decent hour. So as long as we're doing that, it doesn't bother me as bad, but I sure would like to get to 4 or 5 classes at the most, but it is what it is. And we'll just tend to, or try to work on it and improve on it if we need to.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned KR because, I do want to talk about that. You guys, when KR went to Architects, it's like, oh my God, what's going on here? These guys have been the tag team. You guys were the world tag team champions, kicking ass and doing these things. But, it really comes down to, you guys, everything is good right there. and you're still working hand in hand. I mean, KR's a good dude. You are a great dude. I mean, it's like squash all that. It's like everything's good right there. It's just an opportunity that he had.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and KR's always been the face for what we've been doing. For the most part, he's always been kind of the forefront of
the mouth,
been the mouthpiece, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
So when we made that announcement, he made that announcement. I do think people were worried that, oh no, Rocket's going to shut down and Kevin's not going to be able to handle it by himself. And,
right.
So we kind of had to head that off at the pass and let everybody know, hey, everything's going to be fine. We've got a good staff here that we can pick up the pieces. It's going to be definitely a little bit more challenging without Kevin, but and I think he might run across the same thing over there where he's at, where maybe he's going to need me on that stuff. So, but we talk daily. He came and emceed the banquet, and the plan is for him to continue to MC our banquet. He'll be at our specials. He'll still be dressing up as the rodeo clown, and he'll be at the Eiffel Tower Classic. And my plan is to go over and help him with his mini sprint race that he's got. I believe at the end of February. So, our weekly stuff, we're going to kind of be on top of each other a little bit, but we're going to both tracks will be fine. And then we've kind of scheduled our specials kind of around each other, I guess you'd say. So he did a real good job with the tracks up around the Louisiana area with their big shows and scheduling everything, and they kind of included us on that deal. So there's about 5 or 6 tracks that are have a lot of specials that nobody's on top of each other, so we can all kind of help support each other. So and when we're off, I'll be over there helping him out when he needs me, and he's going to be over here helping me when I need him. So, it's everything's going to be fine, and I think you've heard us to say it a couple times. I think it's going to be almost like having 2 racetracks, Mm-hmm. So, we're both excited about it. I'm excited to get the season started.
Yep. Talk about the big one, dude. We're getting to February, and it's time to go racing. Talk about the big one coming up there at Rocket.
Well, we got the Eiffel Tower Classic, and that's that's something that me and Kevin kind of came up with. I guess when we first took over Rocket, we wanted to bring the USRA stock cars in, and we wanted to do it at RPM, but we were a little bit far away from I guess guys that have those cars. We're closer to Oklahoma, and guys can get there from Missouri even. So it just made sense to bring that class in, give us another full fender class, because we've got plenty of open mod racing right now. So we needed another full fender class, and we thought that would be a good opportunity to bring that class in. I think we started out with 4 cars last year, and I think end of the season, I think we had 12 to 15, there towards the end of the year. So, so we put this out last year just to kind of get it out and, let guys know, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're committed to the USRA stock car deal. And, I think that's been key in helping grow the class, and that's what we're trying to do. So, we'll have a 1,000 win on that Thursday, February 9th, come back on Friday the 10th, another 2,000 to win, and then Saturday we're going to have the 5,000 to win. These all 3 be separate shows, and if one guy can win them all, he'll get a $2,000 bonus, potential to get $10,000. So that's going to be a tough deal to do, but Clyde Dunn did it a couple years ago over at RPM. He swept, I think, the Brian Mize and Ronnie Sigmund, and we put up a bonus on that, and I think he walked away with a little over $12,000 that weekend. So it can be done. So just something that we're big fans of the stock cars. I think a lot of people are. So that's kind of where I cut my teeth. So it's always been a favorite of mine, and Kevin's always enjoyed him as well. So. And I think he's even going to try to run them a couple times up there at Arklatex even, and try to introduce them to that area, and just see how it goes when when we have a weekend off for them or whatnot. So, but yeah, we're looking forward to it. We've got about I think we've right at 20 pre-entered right now, I believe is what we're up to, and a lot of guys from Iowa, Missouri, Arkansas, some from Texas. So it's going to be a good show. I think a lot of guys will wait. I think a lot of guys will wait and enter, at the gate, I guess you'd say, with the, just February and the weather and everything else. It's I was kind of the same way. I'd probably wait and enter late too. So
no doubt.
We always put it out there, just kind of let guys save some money if they want to. They can save a little money on the pre-entry. So, but yeah, we're excited about it.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a good year, man. And that's a great way to start the season off, man. Kevin, you are the man, my man. Super excited for you. and great interview. I mean, forget KR. He doesn't need to talk. You're doing just fine, my man. Forget that dude.
Yeah, everybody's like, Sister don't know how to do interviews, I guess. I just, we kind of left that to him. He was always, like I said, he was kind of the forefront of that deal. So that's a role I'll kind of have to take on a little bit more this year, and we'll just trudge through it, and we'll make it happen.
I think you got it down, Mr. Sister. We will do this more often than not. Reach out anytime, man. We are happy to help you. Good stuff there at Rocket. I mean, keep doing it, dude. Looking forward to a great year for you guys.
Well, we sure appreciate it. Appreciate you letting us come on and talk about the Alpha Tire Classic and what we got going on. We do appreciate it.
You bet, my man. Take care.
All right. Y'all too. Bye-bye.
You bet. There he goes. It's so funny with him because I was talking to him and he's like, well, Kevin always did the talking. I'm like, just tell us what you think.
All you got to do is just
totally
answer a couple of questions. We're just having a racing conversation. The fact that a bunch of people are listening is irrelevant, but
yeah. And the funny thing is, the same thing there with Andrew when he was talking about, what are we going to talk about? It's like, dude, we will never ask you anything that you don't know. Don't worry.
Well, you
do not worry. Oh yeah,
you did tonight.
I guess we did. But
generally, we won't ask the question that somebody doesn't know the answer to.
Well, it
happens.
And I think that's where we need to really hone in right here as we start to dig into the season that's about to embark. Looking at Florida, I mean, these guys are all racing and doing everything, but Texas is about to take off, and we need to get out and support these racetracks because I think that this show, Bobby, in my opinion, is a great synopsis. How about that?
That's a new one.
How about that? Of what we need to be doing because we're talking to a man about all the closed racetracks and at the same time talking to a man that is embarking into his venture in doing this by himself. And get out there, support these racetracks, and there are great things that are coming up in Texas. And I think that that's the main thing. Support a racetrack. If you can't go there, right. Watch it on Race on Texas. I mean, do something. I mean, just be a part of it.
Pick it as your favorite track, and the track gets the profit share with some of the revenue from Race on Texas. It's that simple.
Mm-hmm. We need to talk to them about maybe don't pick a track, pick a show.
Maybe.
How about that?
Well, we are on their network. Speaking of networks, don't forget about our YouTube page over there, y'all. We've got a couple of 100 subscribers or so. We need to get a few more numbers for Facebook before YouTube lets us have any fun on their platform. If she hadn't subscribed
Bobby means before we can charge.
Well,
Bobby, always thinking about the money.
Trying, but I think we need 500 likes. We need 500 subscribers to start opening up over there. So
yeah. No,
we're getting there slowly but surely.
I mean, it really is a good thing. I think the one thing that we really go back to, it's a labor of love. I mean, I think for all of us, I mean, it's about growing the sport. And I know that we talk about all the tracks in Texas, that keep hammering away and with all the promoters doing everything they're doing. And, with race fans that continue to show up to go out there. And I'll tell you the cool part for me is, each and every time that there's a race event, I mean, I'll get Facebook messages from people And it's like, hey, I'm at Heart of Texas. Hey, I'm at Kennedale or whatever. And then that's great. I mean, that's what I want. I want people to go to the track. I mean, because there really is no better experience than being at the racetrack. And I know that streaming and all the shit that we do, and our friends, with Jen Brinson over there, like I talked about in Florida, with everything that they do, I mean, it's really cool to watch on TV or your phone, whatever. But I mean, hell, ain't nothing like being at the racetrack. That is the best way to do it.
There's nothing better than being there, but it is nice to be able to sit in the living room and watch the racing action at Arclatech Speedway, watch the racing action at Rocket, at the race ranch when you can't get down there to be it in person. So if I can't make it on Saturday, I'll be watching on Race on Texas to watch Owen Snowbird race that he's got coming up on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. And that's the beauty of it, that we can do that now. We can do that now. That's where, talking about all the closed tracks, we couldn't do that back in the day. They may still be open if we could have done that back then. I mean, who knows?
Maybe.
Who knows?
Are you going to forget your Cowboys rant?
Oh yeah.
I heard you wanted to play the bumper. You gotta get your Cowboy rant on.
All right, guys. So if you really want to, so here's the thing. I've had lots of folks that have reached out and given me all the condolences and all this. The Cowboys, the Dallas Cowboys, are not going to win a championship with that quarterback. I mean, go back and watch that game. The year before we had a defense, or Dallas had a defense that was kind of struggling. This year, the defense has been in place. This quarterback is not going to win us anything. Nothing, Bobby. Go back and watch this thing. 2 interceptions at the worst times. I don't know. And I'll tell you this: the Cowboys. Here's my other thought. The Bengals are the best team in the freaking league right now. That was a kick-ass win yesterday.
They dominated yesterday on all aspects of that ball, and they embarrassed the Bills at home.
Dude, for all the people that are giving the Cowboys and me a bunch of shit about how bad my team is, Buffalo was supposed to be, and again, I know that we had the DeMar Hamlin, all of that, and I was totally hoping that Buffalo could do well. But Buffalo got their ass handed to them. And Josh Allen, supposed to be a great quarterback in the NFL, he looked like Dak Prescott. So watch those Bengals. Watch those Bengals. But for the Cowboys, guys, don't message me and tell me how bad we are. I know it. I mean, we have everything in place. Our problem is 2 things. 1, our quarterback, and 2, the GM. That's where it's all at. That's where it's all at.
But you can only get rid of the quarterback. You're not getting rid of the GM.
Well, we can't get rid of the quarterback either, because he's got a hell of a salary which hell, I'd go out there and throw interceptions. I mean, I'd do that. But
yeah. Well, Pollard broke his leg, right?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And
it didn't look that bad. It looked like a high ankle sprain, but I didn't realize it broke. No wonder he was in grimacing pain on the way down.
I love Zeke Elliott. He's a great running back. He did really cool things. Bobby, our man Tyler Campbell, has told me things about his friendship with Zeke Elliott, how close they are, and the pains that Zeke is going through. Zeke doesn't need to be in that position that he was in yesterday. He is not capable of doing that anymore. So there's, I mean, it's like, it's like a donkey. You got a donkey, you get out there and you kick the shit out of it, and you expect it to do something. He can't. He's wore out. He is wore out. He's done. And that's what has happened right there. And here's where it's all screwed up, is that now when it comes to Tony Pollard, is he going to be okay? I mean, it is hard to heal. That's I don't know, 4 to 6 months to get back from that, because dude, that was gruesome. That hurt me. I was drunk and I saw that and it hurt me. That's bad.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if he gets well, they're going to have to back the Brinks truck back up to the front door to keep him. So,
and that's the whole thing. Do you do that? And the whole problem is at this point, for Dak, I mean, the defense was there. I mean, everything was there for him, and he found a way to screw it up. 2 interceptions. The one at the end of the first half, I mean, right there at the end, I mean, that was horrible. I mean, you cannot make that mistake. And you would think that after, what, 7 years? 6 or 7 years being in that spot, that you would not make that mistake. And it's the same thing with the Cowboys. I mean, you back your way into these things. Tony Romo was not going to be your quarterback. I mean, you backed your way into that, and he found a way to fuck up everything. You found a way with Dak Prescott for him to take that job, and he finds a way to not be your guy. I really think that you need to go in there, and you need to hone in and try to find somebody that's going to be. I know that Dak, and I mean, listening to him after the game, he says everything that I want to hear. I made a mistake. I'm going to be better. Romo did that. Romo did all of that. You got to go get somebody. I mean, this is not Jerry Jones doesn't want to win football games. It doesn't matter if they make the Super Bowl or they get bounced in the divisional for the 7th year.
They're still going to sell jerseys.
You're right, dude. They're going to sell jerseys. They're going to sell AT&T stadium tours. They're going to be the most expensive franchise in the world, more than anybody else. I just don't think they're focused in on winning football games. And that yesterday was a great example. And I'm sorry, Cowboys fans. I had folks reaching out last night. Are you done? No, I'm not done. Next year when we start, I'll be on that bandwagon once again, because that's what I do. Bobby, you're a UTSA guy. It doesn't matter if they're 10-1 or 0-10. You're going to be on that bandwagon. That is your team. You support them, but shit, this gets old, dude. It's kind of like y'all with the bowl game. I mean, you guys are kicking ass, but you can't win a fucking bowl game. I mean, it's the same difference.
I've got the T-shirts and airfare for 5 miles to prove it.
Yeah. And the whole thing is, I mean, great text right there, $100 to park. Shit, you got in cheap, Rusty. I mean, that's cheap. I've been in there, and it's crazy. I mean, it's not about winning football games right now for the Cowboys, and it's sad but true. And I don't see any change. I don't see any change coming unless you. There's a lot of things that need to happen. And I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised. And it's just one of those things that I posted last night on Facebook, to where it's like, it doesn't even piss me off anymore, because I'm ready. I'm ready for this. I mean, same shit every time. And like for you, Bobby, as a Houston fan, I really, it
doesn't get much worse than that dumpster fire.
No. But wait, I think you guys are in a better spot, to where you have Sean Payton has expressed interest in that job, because he thinks he can get in there if he can get the GM and all of that mess out of the way, get the religion out of the way, that he can take that spot and run with it. And it's folks asking me about Sean Payton to the Cowboys. Nope. Jerry Jones ain't gonna back off. Stephen Jones ain't backing off. Charlotte Jones ain't backing off. All them people ain't backing off. I think for when did this become a football show? We got another hour to go. Houston is the place for Peyton, because I think he can take that and he can make that job. Seriously, think about it, dude. With the draft picks, with everything in place right there, if he can get them dumbasses out of the way, if he can get Steven and Jerry Jones out of the way, dude, he can take that and run with it.
I hope so.
Oh, yeah.
I hope so. Texans the only team that decided to go for 2 to win the game, to keep the number 1 draft pick. And now they're just watch. They're not gonna get the first quarterback. Somebody's gonna come in and trade with the Bears to trade up to get Bryce Young. It's gonna happen. Bryce Young is not gonna end up in a Texans uniform, because he's gonna go number 1 pick with somebody trades from the Bears.
Here's the whole thing. You don't need him. You get a guy like Sean Payton that jumps in there. He can go in there and he can get Trey Lance. He can go in there and get a Derek Carr. He can go in there and get somebody that he can plug in place and teach them that system, and make them great and make that team great. I mean, the whole thing is, for me, with when it comes to the Cowboys, go back and look at when folks talk about the 90s. I mean, I go back to the 70s. I mean, I'm that freaking old, but when you go back and look at the 90s, the Cowboys, I think it was 91, They had that playoff game against Detroit. They were 9-7. They found a way to get in there. Aikman was hurt. Steve Walsh or whoever was playing that game. They figured out a way to get better. They built that team. And I think that's where Houston, where the Texans are in a place that you can go in there and build that franchise, to where the Cowboys, you're in a place right now where you got to get Jerry and Steven and everybody out of the freaking way. You got to get Dak out of the way. You got to get Zeke out of the way. And Houston foundation, like Hercules foundation, like our man Alan Alexander, it all starts on the foundation. That's where Houston's in a good spot. You guys are in a much better spot than we are in Dallas.
I hope so. Yeah, as soon as I saw that Sean Payton was interested in the Texans, I had that glimmer of hope. I was like, "Oh hell, now this could change everything."
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they're gonna have to give up a lot to get him to the Saints, but I think if they want him, they need to make it happen.
Well, I think the whole thing is with that. I mean, that's where you go in there. Houston's got a lot to give. I mean, go in there and use that leverage and go get that. I mean, that really is the important part. I mean, go back and look at the history of the NFL. You can go back and you look at Vince Lombardi. You look at Tom Landry. I mean, the list goes on and on. Jimmy Johnson, Bill Walsh. I mean, all of these guys that have gone in, and they're the ones that built these franchises. And that's really what Houston needs. Houston's never had that. The Texans have never had that. They've never had anyone that could go in there and really build the franchise around their methodology. It's like high school football. You get a AD, you get a high school football coach in there that's going to build, and that's really what the Texans need. They've never had it from the time they came into the league in 2002. They have never had that. They've had really good years, but you know, they've always run into the Peyton Mannings and all this other shit. I think that they're very susceptible right now to where they can go in there and make the changes needed to go in there and build their program, and that's where Dallas isn't, because Dallas has lots of things that are, I mean, look at the 49ers. I mean, they go in there, they hire Kyle Shanahan. They let him build it. Why did Bill Walsh quit the Cowboys? Because he couldn't have control. I mean, that's the problem.
Well, I mean, I think it's a good problem to have, but they got lucky with their last draft pick, Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy. But I think that the part that makes it somewhat good for the Texans is the fact that if a guy like Sean Payton gets in there and the foundation is there, but that's good. That's a good solid take that they'll have to be able to make it. But yeah, the 49ers have looked good. You know, I mean, I think that they just got really lucky with their scheme. Because let's face it, nobody knew Brock Purdy was good outside of Iowa State, and now he pops in there and he's gone 7-0 in the playoffs. Well, is that system or is that quarterback?
Well, the whole thing is, I've seen so many folks say that it's plug and play. I'm sorry, the dude is good. I mean, the dude is good. He managed that game. He outplayed Dak Prescott yesterday. I mean, if you go back and you watch that game and you look at that and you say, one guy's a rookie, the other guy's a veteran. Who looked like the rookie? Dak.
Yeah.
So you know, I mean, we're down to the meat of the bone right now, where you have you've got the best of the best, and the 49ers are in there. Brock Purdy, you know, is falling into that, and a lot of folks are writing them off, saying that Jalen Hurts is going to whip his ass and all this. I'm not sold on that, because I think the system of the 49ers is better, in the sense that there are so many pieces in place. So much of what Philadelphia does is based on Hurts. And I'm sorry, the Giants aren't that good. I mean, watching what the Cowboys did on Monday night, everything that me included, we're all excited about, going out there and whooping Tampa Bay's ass, they suck. They're horrible.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what Philadelphia did. But I will tell you, dude, I am so excited to watch the Bengals and the Chiefs. That right there is going to be some must-fucking-see football. That is going to be great.
So in your mind, should that have been a neutral site game too?
No, hell no. I mean, I understand why they did that, and I totally get with all the circumstances right there. But no, I mean that's part of the NFL, and I'm glad it's not a neutral site game because I think the coolest part of that is going to be, especially after what Joe Cool just did in Buffalo, if he goes into Arrowhead and beats. Depending on what the deal is with Mahomes, who knows what's going to happen with him?
And they ain't going to say shit until Sunday morning.
Yeah, we'll have no idea. But if he goes in there and he goes and beats Bill's Mafia in the snow, and then can figure out a way to go in and beat Kansas City, who I think is beatable. The matchup for Cincinnati in this thing is it's really good, and the Bengals are good. They are really good, dude. And I think that they're the most undersold thing in the tournament right now is folks don't want to give them the benefit of the doubt. But, dude, they are good. I mean, they got everything right now.
Same thing about the 49ers, I think, too. A 49ers Bengals Super Bowl would be both teams are hot. Both teams are coming in knowing how to play with some good playmakers. That'd be a really good Super Bowl.
Yeah, I ain't got no problem with that. I mean, those guys going at it. Besides the fact that I freaking hate Philly, that would be good. I mean, think about that. And we keep waiting for talking there about the 49ers quarterback. I mean, waiting for him to become a rookie. Think about what he's been through. I mean, to run through the Big 12 and the dude's good. I mean, Brock Purdy is not a bad quarterback, and I see the comparisons to Joe Montana. Pump the brakes on that. Not quite that, but it's the Cowboys. They're going to find a way to step on there, like we play that thing all the time. When you step on it, the Cowboys are going to step on it.
That's right.
Yep. And I really think that the test with Philadelphia, I mean, with that crowd, with those rabid fans, it's going to be a couple of really good football games coming up on Sunday.
But it's not a night game in Philly. That's the best thing that they got. They got the afternoon game, not a night game.
That is weird that the NFC got the early game. And I think a lot of that really was that it was going to be, the Bengals and maybe whoever it was going to be. I mean, I think they wanted to showcase Kansas City and Buffalo if that was able to work out. But that's going to be some fun football, and it really is. I mean, when you look at this, I mean, we can talk about college football playoffs and NFL playoffs, and Tampa Bay getting into playoffs and all this stuff. But you really have come down to the four best teams in the tournament. I mean, when it comes to the 49ers, it doesn't matter if it's Garoppolo or whoever the hell it is. Yeah, you've got the four best teams, and they're going to battle it out here, and you get the two best that will get after it in a couple of weeks and play a championship game, and that's really all that we ask for. I wish Dallas was in it, but they're not one of the four best.
Yeah,
I mean, the Giants are not one of the four best. I mean. Honestly, Bobby, I mean, to me, there are teams in the AFC that are better than Dallas and the Giants. But the way the conferences lay out, I mean, hell, San Diego's better than both of those teams. I mean, it's just the way it all works out.
Yeah, well, it all works out in the end. So I'm glad you got your Cowboys take in. I knew you wanted to get it in there.
Thanks, dude. I was about over that.
Oh,
shit. Wrong one. Playing the wrong things over here. Oh, my God. Let's try this again. How about this? No, hell, wrong one again. Oh, my God. Bobby.
You're just all misconstrued over there.
Why do you do this to me? Hey, guys, don't forget, coming up in a little bit, check out MAV TV. We're going to have that Mobile race, and go watch Bubba Pollard win that. But we'll talk racing next week again, and probably football.
Probably.
It's a good football segment.
Yeah. Well, we saved it to the end so nobody can piss and moan that we started early. That's the sports show portion of the Revved Up Sports Show. Racing first, then the sports show second.
That's right. What's the rest of the week look like for you, my man?
Oh, just got to play a little catch up like normal. Going to sit down, watch a little bit of the Roar. Well, I watched a little bit of the 24 Hours of Daytona, get ready, trying to figure out what to do. May even pull out the barbecue. Got to figure out the Super Bowl plans. Got to figure out some Daytona plans. And he might even work on a couple of birthday plans.
Nice. Super good stuff. Thank you all for checking in. A big thanks, Andrew Thornton, Kevin Sesteri, for being a part of the show tonight. He's Bobby, I'm Rodney, and we are done. See you next Monday. #Real Race Talk Monday. This is the Revved Up Sports Show.